Now, what about bud structure? I heard some people say bud structure is compromised when you're growing with hydroponics. For example, they have grown the same cultivar, same cut, in organic versus hydroponic, and they've got more denser bud structure in the organic side of things. But hydroponics, it's more airier, fluffier bud structure. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I think that's true too. I mean, it comes down to genetics a little bit there, though. Also, so sometimes you'll have certain ones that just respond better to the situation. The thing about hydro is it's a lot of water weight, right? So you've got this like massive, expansion and large watery cells. It's very similar to like, and then if you take organic growing, it's like the cell structure is tighter. The cell walls are thicker. So when you take a cell wall that's thicker and you dry it out, then you have more mass, right? So theoretically, and it's denser, so you don't get this big expansion and then retraction, right? That's like big bud, right? When I was in Holland, right? Because the Dutch are they're very money orientated. They're not so flower orientated. They love their money. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's flowers for the Kuchenhof or if it's, whatever it is, it's about the bottom line. That's all the Dutch really care about. That's why Americans who go there really shine when it came to breeding, because we really were about flavors and about all these things that they weren't about. They were only about size, smell, and money. that's their goal, right? How big is it? What does it smell like? How much money can I get? And so we were more like, how does it smell? How does it taste? And does the joint even burn? You know what I mean? Because that would be the other thing too. You get people just pack them up with food and don't really flush it properly, and you end up with some terribly burning. And so, but what I also noticed too, and you as you go higher up in altitude, your plants change too, and that's one of the things where I almost compare like a high altitude plant to a organic growing plant, and a valley, like a low valley plant, to a hydro plant, because the low valley plant gets a lot of water, right? Grows really tall and thin and kind of just massive biomassy kind of situation. And as you go up into the mountains, the same genetics would be short and more compact to insulate them better and also to be more efficient. And as the UV increases, as you go higher up and the UV increases, it shortens everything down. Like, so if you go to the top of a mountain and see the trees at the top, they're a lot shorter and tighter and more compact. And as you go down the mountain, it gets bigger and bigger. And when you get to the bottom, they're really big and just water. So it's kind of like similar in the sense that you get this density issue. And that density is what I believe is the part that you were saying, as far as like, because I've seen a lot of plants grown in hydro, which, they fill up the area, but you can just see that there's not much there. You know what I mean? Like, they have this, especially all the Cali strains, all these new Cali strains are really lame. I'm sorry to say it. They're really lame to grow. You grow them and you're like, what? That's it? Like, they don't ever explode, they don't have that vigor that you were looking for. And I feel like it's almost like all of us old-time growers, we're always going back to the 90s, right? Oh, the 90s, big, giant Williams Wonder. But, we had like, because everything counted, right? Like, it was like, you get one shot, you get one shot, kid, and then you got to get it and make it happen. Whereas now the pressure's off as far as like, you're running a licensed facility. There's no pressure beyond doing a good job. But what's funny is that because of that, people gotten a lot less focused on, like all of the above strains that you want, which is like good yields or good strength and power and does all the things you want. They're just going for like all they're going for is extraction. That's pretty much like, that's how people's brains are. So like whatever, they take it, does it wash well, right? When somebody asks me, does it wash well? I'm usually like, off. You know what I mean? Like, really? That's all you care about is washing the plant? You don't even care about the plant? Because the plants that wash well are not the plants that smoke well. The plants that smoke well tend to be, individual nice buds that are really like got a chance to mature properly, and they're not all these like runny little plants. But the ones that are runny or the ones that are loose, they're really good for making extracts, So you don't want to like your really good flower plant that's got nice, compact, beautiful buds. they're hard to get into to make the product. So by the time you get into them, you've tore them all up, and now you've created more, just more chlorophyll in the system or more plant matter. Whereas if you get plants that are, like just easy, there are lots of trikes on both sides, and it's easy to get to, knock it all off really quickly. You're hand paddling, everybody's doing it by hand, so they don't want stuff that you have to break it up, and if you have to break it up, you're causing more, quality control issues at that point. So yeah, I think definitely, and also the other thing too, the number one thing I see problems with is pH on hydro systems, right? I'll walk in and I'll be like, oh, you got a pH problem. I'll be like, oh, what are you talking about? No, dude, you got a pH problem. I'm telling you right now, look at everything. It's all single leaves. It's all like looking really stressed out. You know what I mean? And that's the problem with hydro is that, you're creating all of the boundaries, and therefore there's a huge chance of messing it all up. You know what I mean? Because you are a human, and you are not, like, the plants have no problems. If you give them everything they need, they'll figure it out, right? And they'll take it in as they need to take it in. But when you're doing hydro, you don't give them a chance because they only have a very limited window to feed, which is like when the timer kicks on, right? So the timer kicks on, they're feeding, they get a little bit of remnants at the end of it all, and then it's just drying out and, hopefully expanding roots, etc. But when it's on soil or it's on, organically, it's like, it's kind of like they have a smorgasbord set up in front of them, and so they're like, oh, I want one of those. Let me have some of that, and at the same time, the mycorrhizal and other things are, getting it ready for the plants and setting it all up, and then they come in and scoop up that, you know what I mean? So there's a lot more going on that we don't get, and you'll never get because it's, at a microbial level, and it's not your decision to make, so yeah, I think most of the mistakes will probably be human error, on hydro, which is, something we can avoid. But with organic, you just kind of try to create the environment for them to do their thing.
This clip is brought to you by AC Infinity. Use discount code MrGrow at 15 to save on any of their products.